3,000 exhibitors, 60 countries, 170,000 professionals walking the same 4 days in Berlin. This is InnoTrans 2026, the 30th anniversary edition of the largest rail technology fair on Earth. And this year, one exhibitor is making a debut that tells you more about where the money is moving than any brochure on the show floor. By the end of this video, I'll show you exactly which country just signaled it's ready to buy, and it's not the one you'd expect. InnoTrans has run every 2 years in Berlin since 1996, and 2026 marks its 15th edition, 30 years of being the place where the global rail industry actually shows up in person. The event runs September 22nd through 25th at Messe Berlin, organized by Messe Berlin GmbH, and it fills every one of the exhibition grounds halls. To put the scale in context, the 2024 edition drew close to 3,000 exhibitors from 59 countries and around 170,000 visitors from over 120 countries across 200,000 square meters of exhibition space. For 2026, organizers confirmed the show was more than 85% booked over a year in advance, and industry press is calling this the most international edition in the fair's history, with exhibitors from roughly 60 nations. The fair is structured around 5 segments: railway technology, railway infrastructure, public transport, interiors, and tunnel construction, plus a growing digital layer sitting on top of all 5. Remember what I said, one debut this year points straight at where new procurement money is opening up. Keep that in mind because we're about to walk through exactly who's in the room and what they're buying. Let's start with who's actually walking the floor, because at InnoTrans, the exhibitor list is the project pipeline. This year's confirmed operators and transport authorities include Deutsche Bahn from Germany, China Railway, the Roads and Transport Authority of the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia Railways, Qatar's Ministry of Transport, Turkey's TCDG, Ferrovie dello State Italiane, Austrian Federal Railways, Poland's PKP, and Morocco's ONCF. But here's the detail most previews are skipping past completely. For the first time in its history, the California High-Speed Rail Authority is exhibiting with its own dedicated stand after years of only sending observers. That single shift matters more than it sounds. It's usually a signal that an authority has moved from watching the market to actively engaging suppliers. The U.S. delegation overall is one of its strongest ever, around 50 American exhibitors, including Progress Rail, Wabtec, and Amstead Rail, alongside a Federal Railroad Administration delegation. On the Asia-Pacific side, China's CRRC, CAMET, and CARS are showing alongside national pavilions from Malaysia, South Korea, Japan, and Australia. On the rolling stock front, this translates to real hardware on the outdoor display. Siemens Mobility is showing its Velaro high-speed train built for Egypt and its Vectrain concept. Stadler is bringing 8 train types, including a hydrogen alternative rail car and a new bi-mode freight locomotive for the UK. Alstom is showing its Karadia Max regional train, Hitachi Rail's ETR 1000 high-speed set, and CRRC's C-Nova regional train. Important context: exact procurement budgets and tender status for each of these programs vary by country and haven't all been confirmed publicly. Treat specific figures as TBD until verified with the relevant authority. What's verifiable is the pattern. Operators bring hardware to InnoTrans when they're actively in a buying or fleet renewal cycle, not when they're just observing. So who exactly is in buying mode this year? Let's break the confirmed buyer-side presence into 3 tiers. Tier 1. Established European operators renewing and expanding. Deutsche Bahn, OBB, Ferrovie dello Stato, and PKP represent mature networks that use InnoTrans primarily for fleet renewal, digital signaling upgrades, and interoperability compliance under EU rail rules. Tier 2. Gulf and Middle East authorities in active build-out. The UAE's RTA, Saudi Arabia Railways, and Qatar's Ministry of Transport represent networks still expanding physical infrastructure. These are the delegations contractors and OEMs should be prioritizing for direct meetings. Tier 3. New market entrants. This is where TCDD, OpenCF, and critically, the California High-Speed Rail Authority sit. These are authorities either scaling up an existing program or, in California's case, stepping into direct supplier engagement for the first time. Delegations are expected from 18 countries this year, and organizers report growing participation from parts of Africa, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia, regions that historically sent far smaller teams. If your company sells into emerging rail markets, this year's delegation list is broader than any previous edition. One more thing worth flagging. Over 200 companies are exhibiting at InnoTrans in 2026 for the first time, many from Europe, China, and India. A crowded first-timers list usually means more competitive pricing pressure on established suppliers, something to watch if you're bidding into the same tenders as newer entrants. Now, here's something most attendees walk right past without realizing what it means. There's a single hall at this fair where the rail industry is quietly testing whether AI can actually be trusted with safety-critical decisions, and the exhibitor list inside it tells you exactly which categories of supplier are about to get disrupted. The AI Mobility Lab sits in Hall 7.1A inside the public transport segment, and it's back for its second edition after debuting in 2024 with 42 exhibitors from 17 countries. For 2026, organizers have expanded its scope to cover artificial intelligence, robotics, cybersecurity, and data protection for transport systems, with a dedicated stage program and daily guided AI tours that route visitors to AI exhibitors across the entire fairground, not just this one hall. The applications on display span predictive maintenance, traffic and timetable planning, passenger flow forecasting, safety monitoring, and automated disruption response. There's also a new AI on Track hackathon this year, where developers and startups build practical mobility solutions live during the fair, with results presented to an international jury. For suppliers, the read here is simple. If your product category, inspection, diagnostics, dispatch, cybersecurity, doesn't have an AI-enabled competitor on that hall floor yet, it likely will by the next edition. 3 things the average attendee walks past without registering. 1. Certification is the real gatekeeper, not the booth conversation. Across the rail procurement ecosystem, suppliers most often lose opportunities after a good InnoTrans meeting, not because of product capability, but because EN 50126 Railway Safety Certification is incomplete, TSI interoperability documentation is missing, or approval status with the relevant national safety authority hasn't been verified. A great 4-day conversation means nothing without 18 to 60 months of certification work behind it. 2. The competitive field just got wider. With over 200 first-time exhibitors and expanding national pavilions from Asia-Pacific and the Gulf, established suppliers are facing more competitive pricing pressure than in previous editions, particularly in electrification, signaling, and now AI-enabled maintenance categories. 3. National industry associations are doing quiet lobbying you won't see on any hall map. Groups like National Railway Industry Associations use InnoTrans to represent their domestic supply chains collectively, a signal that local content and local partnership expectations are becoming a bigger factor in how contracts get structured, even for OEMs used to competing purely on product. So, back to the promise from the start of this video. Which authority just signaled it's ready to buy? It's the California High-Speed Rail Authority. After years of attending InnoTrans only as an observer, 2026 is the first year it's exhibiting with its own stand, alongside a Federal Railroad Administration delegation and one of the strongest ever U.S. supplier presences at the fair. That's not a marketing decision. Authorities don't fund their own stand at a European trade fair unless they're actively building supplier relationships for an active or upcoming procurement cycle. If you're a contractor, OEM, or consultant watching the US market, this is the moment to start building that relationship, not after the tender drops. Here's what to do with everything you just learned. Step 1. Identify which of the 3 buyer tiers we covered matches your target market and prioritize those delegations for InnoTrans meetings. Step 2. Audit your EN 50126 and TSI certification status now, not during the fair.
Step 3. If you're not yet represented in the AI Mobility Lab conversation, start scoping where your product category intersects with predictive maintenance or safety monitoring AI. Step 4. Subscribe to RailCompass and hit the bell so you don't miss the next breakdown. In the next video, we're going deep on the specific projects behind these delegations, the actual pipeline, the budgets, and which tenders are closing first. Comment exhibitor list, and I'll send you the full sector-by-sector exhibitor breakdown from this video.